Hey guys, this is Hunter Levine, and thank you for checking out the Captain's Collective podcast. Brought to you by Skinny Water Culture, Costa Sunglasses, Orvis Fly Fishing, Turtlebox Audio, Florida Fishing Products, and the Drifter Fish Club. Today we have a special Round 2 episode with Captain Percy Darville, who's one of the guides at Soulfly Lodge. Over the past few years, I've met very few people who have had as much experience in life and on the water as Captain Percy. And in this podcast, we talk about not only his relationship with his father, but his desire and what he wants to see in the guides who follow behind him. We really hope that you guys enjoy this Round 2 conversation as we talk about life and guiding with Captain Percy. Thank you guys so much for checking out the Captain's Collective podcast. To learn more about traveling around the world with us as we seek interviews and have fun, check out thedrifterfishclub.com. Thank you guys so much for listening. This is the Captain's Collective. Well, hey, Percy, thanks for hanging out with us the past couple days and giving me an opportunity to sit down and have a second interview with you. Really grateful for the first interview and getting a chance just to hear a little bit about your entry into guiding and what your career has looked like. You're a really well-respected guide here. Not only do the guys here at Soulfly and in Great Harbor look up to you, but I've met plenty of people across the Bahamas that have a lot of respect for the legacy you have, the career that you've had, and just the way that you have, I think, modeled to the next generation of Bahamian guides what it looks like to really value people and care about the fishery and also, I think, be knowledgeable and pass it on. So thank you for that. I'm curious, as you kind of, I'm guessing, look to the next generation of guides and think about your career in your life, why do you feel like, to you, fishing has been so meaningful in your life?
Well, it's something I got started with when I was very, very young. And as time went on, it got better and better to me, and I got more knowledge about it. And as I got older, I wanted to spread it out with the younger people. So that's basically what I've been trying to do with all the young boys.
If you would have went a different direction in life and, become maybe a TV personality or a game show host or an R&B singer, whatever route you could have taken, and you wouldn't have had the life that you've had guiding for bonefish and permit, what do you feel like you would have missed?
I think I would have missed a great part of the world, because fishing is my life and I enjoy it like anything else I probably would have.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't have given that up for anything.
Do you feel like there's certain life lessons that you've learned from your time as a guide that maybe many people who go a more traditional job route miss out on, or it's harder for them to understand?
I think it would be hard for a lot of people to understand if they've never done it before. Mm-hmm. It's something you have to try out and really get to like it to enjoy it.
And as you look at the next generation of guides, and the Bahamas is interesting because most places I go, there is no shortage of people aspiring to be guides. And what I've heard from several people across the Bahamas is that they actually want to see more, young people get into guiding. What's your pitch to people who are kind of maybe on the fence? They're young, they're thinking about getting into guiding. What's your pitch on why they should consider it?
I would tell them the best thing to do is to try get serious about it and get involved in it as deep as you can, because it's a very nice sport and it's a good income for them to have as a younger person, instead of going out there on the streets and looking for drugs and alcohol and all that stuff.
What do you feel like is the biggest thing when you talk to young guides, or, here at Soulfly, you have an opportunity to work with a range of guides across different, ages. I don't know what your youngest guide is. I know you have some young men around the lodge who are aspiring guides. When you look at them and then you think about yourself when you entered guiding, what do you feel like is the biggest difference between the guide you are today and the guide you were when you first entered?
Today, I will say I learned enough to really look back at it and tell myself I'm glad I got into it because I learned a lot, and it's it's something you really cherish, and I wouldn't give it up for the world, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. When you're running a boat, and maybe this isn't a common thing for you, but it's common for me, and you're running a boat and you look to the side and you see a rock and you're like, I almost hit that rock. And you're like processing that. When you look at your life and you think about the career you have, the life you have, and the accidents or the kind of distractions, the bad routes, places that it could have went wrong, what do you feel like are some of the rocks that you've avoided that maybe you would warn people about who are pursuing fishing either as a serious angler or as a professional guide?
Well, you have a lot of rocks out there that's submerged, and depending on the tide, if it's a high tide, a lot of them you can't see, and if it's flat calm, they're under there, and unless you can read the tide movement over these rocks, you wouldn't even know they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell the younger people, stay offshore. Don't get too close to the shoreline, because if you do, you might find something that you don't want to there.
How do you feel like, do you feel like that translates to life in some ways?
Well, if you're not careful with, looking out for the rocks, it could cost you your life, somebody else's life, and if that doesn't happen, you can injure the boat or break the engine, and there you are, dead in the water. So I will always say, stay away from the shoreline, which I've seen a lot of the younger people doing these days, is running tight against the shoreline. Don't do that, because anything can happen. You could be running that boat and you're steering, and the next thing you know, you pick up a leak in your hydraulic steering, or a cable broke, and you lose control of the boat, and no telling where you'll end up.
One of the things that I talked to Travis about was just kind of how things have changed for him the past 4 years, and he said that one of the things that he was really trying to work on is just being a better person. And I know for you take an interest in the guides that you work with in their holistic development, not just as a fishing guide, but as a person. You want to see them make good choices. You want to see them become better men. What do you feel like is good advice for younger people who not just want to be better guides, but want to be better people holistically off the water?
Just follow someone that's more into it than you are, and look at what they're doing, and just try and follow their footsteps, and that will help you a lot.
Do you feel like you've had any changes in how you approach life or how you approach fishing since the last time we sat down about 3 or 4 years ago?
No, I don't think so. I've been pretty much the same as I was back then.
Mm-hmm. And you seem to have a laid-back style of guiding, and there's some people who are really, really high energy, really amped the whole time. Why do you feel like, or how would you describe those differences, and what do you feel like the pros and cons are of that?
Well, what I look at, it's a job to be done, and all you got to do is put your mind to it, relax yourself, and don't try to be better than the next person, because trying to do that, you ain't going to get any further.
Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Because you're trying to override somebody else that it ain't going to work, because that person already knows what they want to do, and you're just trying to get there.
Do you feel like a lot of guides in their kind of pursuit of their own ego overlook really important things?
Yeah, I think some of them really do. Like, trying to, like we say, trying to be a better guide, and a lot of them, they don't want to listen to what you're trying to tell them or teach them, and they figure they can do it on their own. And when it all boils down, they still have to come back to you to get some questions answered.
Is that something that you feel like is new to the newer generation of guides, or did you see that when you were young and entering?
No, it's more to the new guides now.
Mm-hmm. What was it like when you were entering, as far as the culture of the younger guides and how they saw the older guides?
Well, back then, when I got into it, there wasn't many younger guides in getting into it, because I started in an early age. I started, at 7 years old. I started trying to learn as much as I can from the business, and just through trying to help out other people, it taught me a lot. And I had my old man that helped me with a lot of stuff also, and he had a lot of U.S. friends that used to come over and fish, and they would take me out with them a lot, and just through trying to help them maneuver the boats and stuff, that was a big help, because it pushed me to the point where I started working on my own.
When did you start working on your own? I think we talked about it a little bit last time, but
1966.
Wow. And so you had that upbringing and were in that environment, got introduced to it really young. Do you feel like there was outside of the obvious of just time on the water, just the time of where fishing was at, where the Bahamas was at, things as an industry, if you want to use that word, do you feel like there were certain advantages that you had back then? Because in today's world, people have so much access to online articles and videos and films, and it's, often called the information age. And I think that the advantages of that seem really obvious, but there was, back in the 60s, there were maybe certain advantages that get overlooked today.
Oh, yeah. Things like that. There was no computers and all that stuff around, so you had to really get out there and push hard and try and collect as much knowledge as you can without any more help than that.
What do you feel like is your biggest challenge now as a guide, further in your career?
My biggest challenge now is trying to make clients happy. Because sometimes you go out there and you've got some older clients, and they get out there and the fishing is tough, the weather is lousy, and some of them don't understand what you're trying to do just to keep them happy. So you have to give it your all in all and let them see what you're doing.
Has it always been that way, or is that something that you've seen change?
It's been changing. Some of the younger guides, I notice, they're picking it up from some of the older guides.
So you feel like the younger guides are not doing as well with the adversity of weather, or is that what you're saying?
Yeah, some of them they're a little bit too afraid of the weather. Because take for instance, a lot of them, they get out there and they see a storm coming, especially if there's lightning in it. They want to call it and come back in.
Mm-hmm.
And if the weather changes, then they'll go back out. Other than that, they don't want to go out.
Mm-hmm. When you think about being a kid and getting the chance to hop on a boat with different clients and being around some of the guides that were before you, what was so special about that time that you reminisce on or that you go back to in your mind?
Taking how should I put it? Taking advice
Mm-hmm.
from some of the older guides, because today a lot of the younger guides, you try to install on them more and more advice,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them, they get to a certain stage and they think they know it all, and they don't want to take what you're trying to teach them.
Why do you think that's so common in today's world?
It's hard to say, but when you really look at it, that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm. What have you found is the best way to try to get across that barrier?
You just got to try and keep pushing them. Try, and storing stuff in their head and hoping they'll take what you try to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, they turn away and they said, "Oh, he don't know what he's talking about." But when it all boils down, a lot of times they still got to come back and get that
Mm-hmm.
same advice from me.
Mm-hmm. So just let them.
Let them have their own until they realize they can't do without it.
Mm. What are some of your big lessons when you think back to people taking you out on the flat, taking you out on the skiff? You talked about you learned how to run a boat and how to manage the boat. What are some of those big lessons that you learned really young that you felt like were critical to your career?
Well, some of the guys I used to go out with, they had their own yachts, and they used to come and anchor up right at where we fish, and we would just anchor up there for about a week at a time, and get up in the morning, and we'd take off and go, and they go wading, fishing. The only thing I used to do back then was I would take the skiff,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd walk it around to make sure that the tide doesn't leave it and get it stuck on the sand.
Mm-hmm.
But just through doing that helped me to learn more and more about how to handle the boat and
Mm-hmm.
how to keep it safe from the shallow water and all of that.
What do you feel like are when you've had a chance to fish with just some incredible anglers, what are the things that you notice about them that make them unique?
Well, a lot of them, I should say most of them, they're real good casters, and that's where I learn a lot of learn a lot of how to cast also.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I started myself with a this might sound like a joke, but I started myself with a spinning rod, and I took some heavier line and stripped the line off of the spinning rod and put that line on it, and that's how I learned to cast beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I just used that and work it back and forth like I saw them do it, and the next thing I know, I was casting good enough to catch a bonefish.
Hmm. I know a lot of people listening to this, and I mean, I think most people, at least coming off of a day on the water where they're reliving their shots and they're reliving if I could have casted a little better in the wind, if I could have, made the fly land a little softer, if I could have read the water better. I mean, there's just a lot of people have a desire to be better casters or do better with the opportunities they have. Why do you feel like so many people don't progress as well as others, and what does it take to actually progress to that level?
Well, a lot of people just don't have the proper weather for it, excuse me. They get out there, and we might have a good day when we get out there, and then the wind starts picking up, and it starts affecting everybody on the casting. You get wind coming in your face. You can't get the line out into the wind, and then a lot of times you got the wind coming to your back, so you can't load up on your false cast, and all of that plays a big role in trying to get the cast the right way.
Mm-hmm. Were there certain things that they did? I mean, obviously they practiced, they fished a lot, but were there certain either behaviors or, you know, methods or just things that they did that you felt like gave them that edge, you know, big picture wise?
Yeah, I think it's mostly by practicing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, they get in the situation where they're, like I said, their casting isn't improving,
Mm-hmm.
mainly because a lot of them, they get short of patience, and
Mm-hmm.
they get a little tangled in the line, and they start raising hell for that. And I just tell them, just take it easy.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't rush it. Take it easy and just go through it, clear it back out again, and catch a fish.
If you had one last day on the water and you had to pick who you were going to spend that day with, do you know who that would be?
No, I don't think I can pick any one person that would be.
What type of person would you want it to be?
Someone that can fish.
Beyond casting, what does that mean?
Someone that, will listen to you, understand what you're doing, and if they're making a mistake, you're trying to show them where they made their mistake and help them correct it. And once they take that, they will succeed with that.
Mm. One of the things with being a guide is obviously over time you have different people come through and fish with you year to year and sometimes multiple times a year, and you get to develop a relationship. Are there any particular relationships from over the years that you feel like were particularly meaningful or formative for you?
No, I don't. I don't think so. I can't think of anyone. Excuse me. Any. Oh boy. I can't really think of any one person that I can say that I would really enjoy like that, because most of my clients are enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they make a mistake or two, I'm a person like this. I've got a lot of patience, and everybody makes mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So if one of the clients make a mistake, you just try to help them correct it, and that would make things a lot better for them.
Mm. What to you, when you look back, we talked about your hardest challenge now, was there ever a season that you thought about walking away from guiding and doing something else?
There was a few times that the thought crossed my mind.
And how did you handle that?
I just said to myself, don't worry about it. Just keep doing what you're doing.
What were the things that were pressing you at that time that you felt like maybe, doing some sort of shift?
Well, you have a boat with an engine, you have an engine trouble,
Mm-hmm.
and you got a problem with your boat getting a leak and
Mm-hmm.
other things like that. And after you put up with it for so long, it makes you feel like you just want to quit.
Mm-hmm.
But just like something keep telling you, don't quit. Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did.
What do you think that your time, I know for a lot of clients and a lot of anglers, when they fish, it's, maybe it's that they get to do it 10, 20 times a year, maybe more. Lots of people get to do it more. And they feel like they learn things about themselves, they learn things about life that they can apply far beyond the water. What do you feel like you've learned about life and learned about yourself from guiding that has shaped you far beyond just what you do on a boat?
That's getting out there and wanting to do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you want to do it, one way or the other, you're going to do it and make it work. And once you see where it's working out for you, then you feel comfortable with yourself, and you just say, well, I'm going to keep on doing this until I get better.
Mm-hmm. What was your dad a guide? You mentioned.
Yes, he was. He used to travel a lot with customers on the yacht boats.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have to stay home by myself sometime when he goes off for a month, 6 weeks at a time.
How young?
I was in my teens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sure you didn't get in any trouble or anything.
No, stayed away from trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't one that, never thought about doing anything to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I always try to stay clean.
Mm-hmm. What so your dad worked on these yachts and taught you a lot of, things about fishing. And when you look back on that, do you feel like there were certain things that or how he carried himself or how he handled things that you see yourself today doing?
Yeah, I used to take a lot of pattern after him and try to, get as good as I can to do what he did. And a lot of times, if it was something that I didn't understand, I would go to him and I'd question him about it, and he would walk me down the straight road.
Mm-hmm. What do you think if he was able just to, tomorrow we have great weather, that's when our group is flying out, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But if he were to hop on the boat with you tomorrow, I know you got big plans to sleep in and relax tomorrow, you shared, and just take a recovery day, but if you were to get on the boat with him tomorrow and go around and chase fish, what do you feel like he would say?
Well, he would probably say, well, I can see what I taught you.
What do you think would be most meaningful to him that you're doing?
Just seeing me being able to do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
That would satisfy him in a big way.
Do you feel like that helped you in moments where maybe you wanted to walk away or deep challenges?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Do you still hear his voice some when you're fishing?
I think about that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's just like he's next to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
What does he say? What are those moments?
I just think about the things that he would have said.
Mm-hmm.
One for sure, he would probably say, son, I never thought I'd see you make it this far in life.
Mm.
And he would say, you made a lot of progress.
Mm.
Keep it up.
Progress with casting, working with people?
Just working with people in general.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel like is the hardest part of that?
Well, it used to be just trying to keep up with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a while, I just said to myself, he's gone now, and I got to do what I can do just to show everybody that I can do what he taught me.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people said they didn't thought I would make it.
Mm.
So I had to show them.
Yeah, I think you've done pretty good.
Well, thank you.
When you think about leaving a legacy, because there's so many great Bahamian guides who, have really shaped well beyond these islands when it comes to the fishing industry and the fishing world. What do you think it means to leave a legacy?
To leave it?
To leave a legacy.
Oh, man. The only thing I can think of is I hope the ones I leave behind took pattern after me and can try and follow in my footsteps.
If this is the last question, but if, we had a Percy guide school and we were bussing in guides from around the world, and you were giving a big presentation on what it looks like to do guiding the right way, what would your big point be that you would really want them to get?
I think the biggest thing I would probably want them to get is, I'll tell them, when you go out with your anglers, treat them nice, treat them the best you can, and try and teach them what you can teach them if they need the help, and just do whatever needs to be done to help them.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down and fishing with us. I know that everybody that fished with you was really grateful for the time and took away a lot of good stories and a lot of good tips and advice. And so we're really grateful that you carved out a little time tonight to sit down with us here at happy hour and have your cranberry. That's your go-to drink, right?
That's red wine, man.
Oh, red wine. Did you used to drink cranberry?
I used to cut it with cranberry, but I quit that.
Yeah.
I drink it straight.
Straight red wine.
Yeah.
No ice, no cranberry.
Little ice, and that's it.
All right. Well, I don't know if it's straight, but that's the Percy, if anybody wants to have a drink with Percy as they listen to this.
Well, I can walk in any bar on this island and everybody knows my drink. And I don't have to say a word. As soon as I sit down, they put the cup in front of me and pour the drink.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's how you know you have deep roots somewhere. But thank you so much for hanging out with us and fishing. Hope you get some good rest tomorrow. Hope to get more time on the water with you, and really grateful for it.
I enjoyed it.